This video's regarding pulling the nib on a Parker Centennial. I have one here which I've already done. Wasn't writing very freely, so I soaked it several times. Another one I soaked over and over, and each time the next morning, 24 hours, 12 hours, whatever, flush through, leave it, and more came out and more came out. So with these second-hand pens, you don't know what's been in there, what type of ink, how dried in it might have got. This one cleared relatively quickly, but I've done it before with this one because I've had it a while. But still, I wasn't quite happy with the flow. And being second-hand, I didn't know if stuff caked inside. Maybe they'd use those shiny inks you can get, which tend to coat things. So I looked online and I couldn't really see. I saw descriptions. They say it's friction fit, and people told me what to do, but I was still a bit wary. But I looked at many things and they said the same thing, which basically is this: soak it and flush it first and leave it soaked. So it's obviously if there is anything that's hard, hopefully it'll be as soft as it's going to get. And then with a pair of rubber gloves, you just pull here away from the end. Of course, you don't want to bend anything. So you grip it here and then pull and twist and wiggle as best you can, but pulling this way, not trying to. It doesn't screw, it's friction fit. So I did it with this one, and yep, it came free. And I cleaned all the parts. It was fairly clean anyway. So I thought I'd show you this one, which I've just dismantled to check this one. And you can see the constituent parts there. So that's friction fit, which you can probably see through. Yep. This, don't know if the camera's going to focus, but we'll have a go. There's a feed. So you can see that's quite intricate. And this one fairly clean as well. And here's the nib, which also, see if I can get a bit more light, maybe that, which also is pretty clean. And I can see the slit. I don't know if you can see, the slit's pretty much parallel, with the nib points just meeting, perhaps. If you do want to adjust the nib, be very, very careful, obviously, but it's easier to do it. Say you wanted to open these tines a bit, it's easier to do it when the nib's out, of course. But I'd say be very, very careful, because if you bend them apart, that's fairly easy to do. It's not so easy to bend them back. So I don't know. But you go very, very slowly and keep checking and be very, very careful. Get an idea of what you're doing, perhaps. The way this fits, then, as you might be able to see, he says. Yeah, just a slight bump there. And that fits in that rectangular cutout, is the idea. So if I do that, there, so it locates, which it has done. I cleaned the underside of the nib and everything. I just check that that's lined up there nicely. The nib, it looks like it is, because even though it's fitted in that thing, you could have a little bit of leeway there. Just checking that again before I put it back in. And then I grab firmly there, and the idea is that you simply do that. Looks lined up there, looks good. Looks good there too. And then you do that. Incidentally, I know converters don't hold much, but if anything goes wrong with them or you want to clean them, it's much easier. Whereas if you've got a piston filler and say the rubber goes on the plunger, whatever, which it will do over time, I'm sure, then how do you get into a piston filler? One thing I would say, which I would like, seems to me that there's a little bit of excess room you could have there if you had a shoulder to make the converter wider. And also, couldn't you have, look at that there, couldn't you have a dual helicoid, if you know what I'm saying? So one goes inside the other up here, so you wouldn't have to have all this much room wasted. So basically you've got a bit of diameter wasted, and you've got a lot of room there wasted, which if you had a double helicoid, you could probably get away with that much and hold, I don't know, half as much again ink. Well, whatever. But if you don't use the pens much, perhaps you don't want all that much ink in there. Anyway, so this one's ready for filling.